Hello and greetings to everyone. My name is LEBIKAH binti JOOKSAN. My matrix number is BT233030518. Today I will be presenting an analysis of customer satisfaction score and customer retention rate using group frequency data. The goal is to understand how customers are distributed across different score range and what insight we can derive from the distribution. Starting with the customer satisfaction score, we can see from the table that only 6.67% of businesses fall in the 70 to 74% range. The largest group, 30%, have scores between 85 to 89%. Interestingly, 23.33% of businesses have very high score, between 90 to 94%. When we look at the cumulative relative frequency, it becomes clear that around 76.67% of businesses have satisfaction scores below 90%, and 100% of the businesses have satisfaction score above 70%, indicating that all the businesses in our sample are achieving at least a moderate level of customer satisfaction. Now looking at the customer retention rate, the highest proportion, 26.67%, is seen in the 70 to 74% range. However, only 10% of businesses have a retention rate between 85 to 89%, which is noticeably lower than the number achieving high satisfaction. Only 43.34% of businesses have retention rates below 75%, showing a more gradual increase compared to satisfaction. And once again, 100% of businesses are above the 60% retention marks. Let's take a look at the relative and cumulative relative frequency distribution for two important metrics, customer satisfaction score and customer retention rate, based on a sample of 30 local businesses. Starting with the customer satisfaction score, we can see from the table that only 6.67% of businesses fall in the 70 to 74% range. The largest group, 30%, have scores between 85 to 89%. Interestingly, 23.33% of businesses have very high score, between 90 to 94%. When we look at the cumulative relative frequency, it becomes clear that around 76.67% of businesses have satisfaction scores below 90%, and 100% of the businesses have satisfaction score above 70%, indicating that all the businesses in our sample are achieving at least a moderate level of customer satisfaction. Now looking at the customer retention rate, the highest proportion, 26.67%, is seen in the 70 to 74% range. However, only 10% of businesses have a retention rate between 85 to 89%, which is noticeably lower than the number achieving high satisfaction. Only 43.34% of businesses have retention rates below 75%, showing a more gradual increase compared to satisfaction. And once again, 100% of businesses are above the 60% retention marks. Customer satisfaction scores are generally higher and more concentrated in the top performance range, while retention rates are more spread out and skew slightly lower. Even though many businesses are keeping customers happy, fewer are managing to retain those customers long term. Now let's move on to the cumulative relative frequency analysis. The first one, the customer satisfaction scores increases more rapidly. By the 85 to 89% range, the cumulative frequency has already reached 76.67%. This tells us that over 3/4 of businesses score below 90% satisfaction. Meanwhile, the customer retention rate reached only 73.34%, at the 75 to 79% range, meaning fewer businesses achieve high retention early on. The satisfaction curve is steeper, especially from 75 to 84% range, showing a strong concentration of high satisfaction. In comparison, the retention curve is more gradual, which reflects greater variability and fewer businesses with top-tier retention. Both metrics eventually reach 1.00 or 100%, but customer satisfaction builds up faster, highlighting greater consistency and performance across the businesses. Customer retention, on the other hand, shows a slower build-up, meaning that it's not consistent or strong. This comparison reveals an important gap. While customers are satisfied, they are not always loyal. That's all. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum and hello. My name is IRDINA ZAHRA binti LAMBA, student ID BB2331103. I will be explaining the part 2, which is to calculate and compare measures of central location between these two key metrics. Let's start with the mean, which represents the average value of a data set. For customer satisfaction score, the total of all 30 scores is 2,527. Dividing this by 30 gives us a mean of 84.23%. For customer retention rate, the total of the whole score is 2,222. Dividing this by 30 gives us a mean of 74.07%. This shows that on average, businesses are doing better in satisfying customers than in retaining them. While most customers seem happy, they may not be returning, which could be a concern for long-term business success. Next, let's look at the median, which is the middle value in an ascending order. So for the customer satisfaction score, the 15 and 16 values are both 85. So the median is 85. For customer retention rate, the 15 and 16 values are both 74. So the average of these two gives a median of 74. Again, this reinforces that satisfaction scores are generally higher and more stable. The lower median for retention shows that half of the businesses have retention rates at or below 74%, which is relatively low compared to satisfaction. Now let's look at the mode, which is the most frequently occurring value. For customer satisfaction score, the values 85 and 88 appear 3 times each, making them a bimodal distribution. For customer retention rate, the value 68 appears 3 times, meaning to say that the mode is 68. So this tells us that many businesses tend to score around 85 to 88 in satisfaction, showing consistency in delivering good service. However, the most common retention rate being 68 suggests us that a large number of customers are not being retained beyond the initial experience. So this might indicate weaknesses in follow-up strategies or long-term engagement. In conclusion, all 3 measures, which is mean, median, and mode, consistently shows that customer satisfaction scores are higher and more stable than customer retention rates. So this highlights a critical insight that although customers are generally satisfied, that satisfaction is not giving into long-term loyalty. And that is all from me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is SYAHIRA ABDULLAH and my matrix number is BB2331103. So, I will present to you for the box plot analysis through 2 key performance, which is customer satisfaction score and customer retention rates. So, moving on with customer satisfaction scores, the minimum score is 70%, while the maximum score is 93%. The first quartile is 80%, meaning that 25% of the company scored below this level. The median score is 85%, indicating half of the company scored above and half above the point. Following with the third quartile is 88.75%, meaning that 75% of the company scored below the point. Next is interquartile range, which is the which measures the middle of 50% of the score, which is 8.75%. Following with customer retention rates. Customer retention rates are the minimum score is 80%, meanwhile the maximum score the minimum score is 60%, meanwhile the maximum is 88%. The first quarter is 68.5%, meanwhile the median is 74%. The interquartile is 11%, while it is because the third quarter is 79.5%. Compared to satisfaction score, retention actually shows more spread, meaning there is greater variability in how companies retain customers. So, according to the box plot, this is the visualize of the box plot itself. For satisfaction, the box is tightly grouped between 80 and 99%. With the median near to the center, it is indicating the consistency of a high performance throughout 30 companies. Next, for the retention, the box is wider, showing more variation. Still, the most values lies well within the expected bounds. Following with outlier detection using IQR method. So, for satisfaction, the lower bound is 66.875%. The upper bound was 101.875%. For retention, the lower bound is 52% and the upper bound is 96%. There is no outliers detected there are no outliers detected in either dataset. All companies fall within the statistically expected range. To conclude everything, customer satisfaction is generally high across the board. Customer retention shows more variation, and the lack of outliers implies a stable competitive landscape throughout 30th company. That's all from me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum and hi, my name is SYIFA JASNIZA binti Jais. My metric number is BT23303 and I will be continuing this presentation by explaining the part 4, which is calculate and compare measures of dispersion between the two key metrics. First of all, we're gonna find the range. So the formula for range is range equal to maximum value minus minimum value. So the first one, based on the information given, the range for customer satisfaction score is 23%, while the customer retention rate range is 28%. Next, we will find the MAD, which is the mean absolute deviation. There are two types of MAD, that are sample MAD and also population MAD. But for this question, we are going to use the sample MAD. To find MAD, we will have to find the mean first. So the mean for customer satisfaction score is 84.233 and the mean for customer retention rate is 74.07. So we're gonna calculate the MAD for customer satisfaction score first. So the each amount of customer satisfaction score will be minus with the total mean, and after added everything, we will get 146.54 as the answer. And using the formula of sample MAD, I will divide 146 and 54 with 30, and the MAD for customer satisfaction score will be 4.88%. Using the same methods for customer retention rate, we will get 172.14 after minus with the total mean, and using the same formula for sample MAD, we will get 5.74%. So for variance, the formula is this. So after minus all information given, so the first one, we will calculate the customer satisfaction score. So I will square each of the answer after minus the mean amount, and I will square each of the answer and amount will be added, and the answer of satisfaction score will be 1043.28, and after that we will apply it into the formula. So it will be divided with 30 minus 1 and we will get 35.98 as the answer. And same with the customer retention rate, we will get 1425.74, and using the formula we will divide it with 30 minus 1 and we will get 49.16 as the answer. And for standard deviation, we are just gonna square root the answer from variance. So for customer satisfaction score, the standard deviation is 5.99, and for the customer retention rate, the answer is 7.01. And lastly is the coefficient of variation. So the formula for this is to divide standard deviation with mean. So the customer satisfaction score coefficient of variation answer is 0.07, and for customer retention rate, the answer is 0.09.
Assalamualaikum everyone, my name is NORAZIZAH binti KAHAR, matrix number BB2330106 Today I will be presenting for part 5, which is calculate and interpret measure of association between two key metrics. As you can see, the mean satisfaction score is 84.23 and the mean retention rate is 74.07. Variance and standard deviation help us understand how spread out the data is. This is a formula to get the covariance. A positive covariance means that one variable increases, that other tends to increase as well. Our covariance value is 39.81, which is indicate a positive relationship between customer certification and retention. However, by itself, covariance doesn't tell us how strong that relationship is. That's where correlation comes in. This is the formula to get correlation. Correlation gives us a standardized measure of the relationship strength and direction. It ranges from -1 to +1. Our result correlation is 0.9466, indicates a very strong positive linear relationship. In simple terms, as the customer certification increases, customer retention also increases. As you can see, this is our scatter plot. The scatter plot visually represents the relationship between certification and retention. Each point is the customer data paid. The x-axis shows the certification score and the y-axis shows the retention rate. Notice how the points form a tight upward pattern. This confirms our statistical finding, which is a strong upward trend indicating that higher certification leads to higher retention. The clustering of points suggests consistency. To summarize it, our analysis reveals a strong positive relationship between customer certification and retention. With a correlation of 0.9466, improving certification is likely to lead to higher customer loyalty.